So now I am live. I've been talking for 25 minutes and it has not been working for me at all because I did try to do it on my phone, but now I am doing on StreamYard instead of the other way. I'm sorry it took so long, but that is what just happened to me. But I cannot believe that State Line, that was the original name, Primm Resort Casino is going down. That is the halfway point, more than halfway from California across the state line. You hang out at the state line. I consider it the first resort before they even called it a resort. I'm sure that's what they probably, some people probably thought it was. But it was open public, it was for the family, not just gambling. They had two major hotels there, Whiskey Peach. I remember it was so crowded in Whiskey Peach just to go to the restroom. The casino was so crowded, compact. You just could not believe, but you still was able to get into the restroom. Of course, the women had to wait longer, but man, the lines were long. You had to squeeze by going up and down the stairs. And this is Whiskey Pete we're talking about. The one that looked like it's always abandoned every time you go down the 15 freeway. But Buffalo Bills was still going on. Buffalo Bills are still going on right into the 2000s, 90s, and the 2000s. It was a very integral place before you even get to Las Vegas. I remember being younger when it was called State Line. You take the bus there. Even even then, when they started doing buses, they tried doing buses all along, but usually it might stop at State Line just for a minute. But some buses just went to State Line, I believe. But usually they stop there. You get a quick refreshment. It's still about 4 hours to get to Las Vegas. Sometimes they stopped in Barstow, I believe, but usually they just go right on through. And then you stay overnight gambling. You didn't get no room, and you just come back the next day. So it took all night. Usually you take it at night, come back the next day, or you take it during the day, early in the morning, you come back the next day. But more than likely, you're resting and you're sleeping on the bus. Even when I got a little older, I even drove down there one day and come back. Did it a couple of times, not quite by myself, but I have been there lots of times. Sometimes I didn't stop at State Line only to just to get gas, but usually you go straight on through. But they didn't start calling it the State Line, even though it's closing on July 4th, 2026. And the employees being terminated from gambling, so there'll be no more gambling there on May 5th, which was yesterday. So that marks the end. They had a little train to go across. You can go from one side to the next. So no matter what hotel you're in, or no matter what side you parked on, there was still plenty of parking almost. Sometimes it was very crowded. But I was still going to State Line every now and then on the way to Vegas. When you have guests, you go into Denny's and eat and use the restroom or whatever. It was still a fun time. You can still gamble. I don't even think the lotto was really big. It was getting big, but you can still, as of today, you can still stop on the California side because the dividing line was right in the middle. You can still play your lotto tickets on the California side. All you had to do was walk across, but you drive on the road past the mall because they did have a mall. They did a lot of shopping there at one time. Shoes, shirts. Always did a stop there for shirts. They always had a good sale. The mall was bustling. Now it looked like they had a lot of graffiti on it, and many of the stores are closed. I have not been inside of it. There is another hotel that was close by. I don't know if that hotel is one of the ones they were talking about, the Flying J. but it was still a vibrant place in the early 2000s. It was still a lot of cars being parked there, mostly on Buffalo Bill's side, I would think, and that's where all the action was. Because on the other side was Whiskey Peace. It's basically a big hotel with a lot of rooms. I've never stayed there. Never stayed in Buffalo Bills either. But it was always a rest stop. You can always get food. Now there's a Starbucks there. There's always been a Starbucks there. There's always been a McDonald's. I think a Taco Bell and a couple other eating places. And of course, if you went inside, there's another hotel there. I keep forgetting the name of it, but I never went in it. Or maybe I did, just walk in the door. But I don't even think I even did that. But it was like a breezeway. You leave the parking lot and you can drive right on through. Or you can go in, park your car, and you can check in. But State Line was a really big deal back then because some people do win there. And there was a hotel right down the road. In fact, there was a couple of hotels on the Nevada side, maybe about 5 miles on the other side of State Line, Primm, Nevada. One of them is completely gone. The other one, Terribles, that's the family name, Terribles. They have a bunch of gas stations there. They had defunct that hotel. That hotel had a lot of vintage cars in it, like the Batmobile and a couple of other cars, a couple of other vehicles. They had all types of stuff there. I played there a little bit. They had restrooms. Sometimes those hotels was a good stop. You didn't even have to stop at the State Line. You could stop at those hotels and eat dinner. They were very nice. You can say that if you know what the greasy spoon is, that they were old like that, but very good food. That means the restaurant has been around a while, and that's what they call them. I guess because they kept using the same spoons, and sometimes I guess some of them were greasy, a little dirty, something, but they did a lot of work to them. I don't know exactly why they called them greasy spoon, but that's what they were doing. However, it's gone by the wayside. It is such a sad, sad thing. Because every time I pass by there, we do stop there. Just like I said, you usually get the last lotto ticket on California side before you go on in. Or you can stop there on the way leaving Nevada. Since then, they had changed the roadway. They used to have an agricultural stop there. It still is there, but they changed to 15 to go off-road, the whole road. Instead of going straight, they built a brand new uh, uh, was it Highway Patrol or no, not Highway Patrol? I forget. But anyway, it's it's where they it's like a state line, but where they still check the big trucks and all that type of stuff. And so usually you just drive on through because no one really contrabands groceries anymore that you buy there, because it's really the same thing. You're not going to interstate commerce the same way. Usually it's for really, really bad things. So, little things, no, they're not going to stop you for the little thing because that's mostly what that is. Because most stuff you can buy at the store there. You can buy your own stuff, and then that's the end of it. Sometimes the traffic is heavy right there, and if you're in anywhere near the off ramp there, it'd probably be a good idea to stop there and rest or sleep if you have to. Because if there's traffic problems on certain days, you got to stop. Maybe there's an accident on the road. A couple of times there was a flood going across the road right near the state line, Primm, Nevada. Everything you can think of was right there. But it was fun while it lasted. like I said, I hate to see it go. You can always rest stops. I guess I don't even think they even had rest stops back then. The rest stop just coming around with the past 20 years maybe. I'm not sure when they stopped doing like real rest stops. Maybe they did do real rest stops then, but that was a rest stop in itself. Any place that had a stop and go place, convenience store like 7-Eleven, AM, PM, and a Circle K, and places like that, and some other places that are copycats. The food's kind of expensive, whether it's chips, soda, liquor, whatever. You can always stop there, and sometimes they had a gas station. Many of them had a gas station as well as restrooms. Of course, we know that some of the restrooms is not as they should be because people really don't know how to use the restroom because they think it's not there, so therefore they don't think about the next person. So we know what that's about. So Sateline, with all his glory, I just can't believe that he was only been around since 1977. Actually, Sateline. What else it said? Timeline said final day. Leaked internal memo that staff living in tenant housing must vacate. Oh, so they even had tenant housing there. They must vacate by July 6th. So at least, that's today. That means if you lived there, if you had any type of apartment living there, that you could not stay there. Then they talk about the history of decline. Now that I really don't know why, but they keep saying it had a long-term decline in tourism. But I still don't know why. I think they just packed up and moved out and they got tired. Because I've been hearing different people wanting to operate it, including some outfits from New York. And I think that's where these folks are from, probably. Like they said, Operation July 2025 before this final decision was shutter everything permanently. Iconic attractions. The Desperado roller coaster, as I talked about, never rode on it. Bonnie and Clyde Death Car exhibit, which had recently been moved to Primm Valley. And they was talking about really, like I said, there were some people who were doing some videos. You can see it on Netflix and various other places where they actually had the okay to go in and they film the deserted hotel of Buffalo Bill, go behind the scenes that they actually could have used that attraction, like the roller coaster going through the hotel, but they really didn't want to do it. They don't want to do it. I would not be surprised. And why is it called Primm? Because the family was called Primm. And then they talk about, do you need information on how this closure affects existing reservation or upcoming concerts at the Star of the Desert Arena? The Star of the Desert Arena. That's where they're supposed to be giving concerts. That is very, very sad indeed. And I guess we're going to have to live with, could we have called it a historic monument? Could someone had money enough to save it and change it around a little bit, tweak it to that so that it'd be almost like Pacific Ocean Park? I man, why couldn't they do that? Of course, we know that someone really did have a water park out in the middle of the desert somewhere near Barstow, right? And that went under for various reasons, which is on YouTube, which didn't last that very long. I remember driving by the water park, never went in. It didn't last long. People started getting hurt. Insurance matters. They were probably one of the first ones to start a water park and end up now in water parks every place else, but not there. But insurance always has something to do with it, people getting hurt. And you see the remnants of it. Such a shame. There are other things that were around back in the day when I was younger, just no longer around anymore. I remember not too far from Knott's Berry Farm in Orange County, they had another place that not just the Wax Museum, but they had a place where there was like a deer thing, a deer park, and you go in and you watch the deer. I think that went under for whatever reasons. I believe it has something to do with health reasons, probably cruelty to animals, who knows. I'm sure I can read about it. No one likes to save anything unless it's really, really worth it. And who decides what is worth it and what is not? I guess if you had the resources, that means the dollar bills. And is it worth your time? Now, we know for a fact that anything can happen to any city. And we know that it used to be a big deal about gambling in California, but now they're starting to gamble in California now. The only thing they don't give you free is liquor. You have to pay for the liquor. Well, I believe in Las Vegas and any place in Nevada, you get free liquor if you're playing the machine. But you can always get a free drink. You can always get water. You can always do those kinds of things. They even try to make a big deal out of that. But Primm, Nevada was probably the last place because you can play a little bit cheaper back in the day than you could in Las Vegas. There were certain hotels that were similar to the ones in Primm. They were old, but they can still play. You can still pull that arm down. Now everything is digitized, right? Digitized and everything. You don't put no money thing. You just get a ticket. You go cash it in. And now these machines don't give you change back. Very rarely. They don't give you change. You either give it to charity, or you just leave the ticket there with a couple of pennies on it, or a dollar, or it's not even worth your time. So there's money that is still on a ticket that is not going to be used. I don't care if it's 5 cents. If you can get that one more 5 cent play, and what is 5 cents? 25 cents when you gamble. And that's the way it is everywhere, even in California now and Las Vegas and all around the United States. It doesn't matter whether it's a regular casino or a native, indigenous casino. It doesn't matter. They all are doing what they're supposed to do, and that is to make money. Gambling is the big thing. A lot of people don't ride stuff. They just go and play. It's not illegal. There's still doing it. But another thing that they're not doing anymore, and that is all over the place after the pandemic, there are no more buffets. There are only a few places that have buffets, and many of them are that cost twice of what it's worth. So what used to be 30 now 60, what used to be $15 and went to 30. The breakfasts are cheap. The breakfast was even cheaper at Primm, probably cheaper when it was called Sateline till the family took over. So there was a lot of fun there for a lot of people. Too bad we're going to just have to wait and see, are they still going to have concerts there? Or are they just going to tear down all the buildings? Will there build another hotel? Probably not. I would be surprised if there's another hotel, because actually I forgot about the other hotel. So it's actually 3 hotels that was past the state line besides Buffalo Bills and Whiskey Pete. One of them was completely leveled, gone. I see a gas station in its place. Because there used to not be any gas stations between Primm, Nevada and Las Vegas. Now there are plenty of filling stations, gas stations, fuel stations, whatever you want to call them. Electric stations also. They all have a certain amount of electric stations. One thing I did notice the last time I went to Las Vegas is that the Starbucks prices was a little bit more at Primm than your normal Starbucks price. That I noticed for the same thing. There's a little bit more for your frappuccinos. And this is Robert the Shop. I'll see you in my next video. I guess I did it the first time with practice for about 30 minutes, and I changed it around again. I'll see you. For those that are on the West Coast, I guess we're going to have to just keep driving on through. They do have rest stops now. More so if they are open, because they do close them to clean sometimes. But there are other filling stations, stop and go stores with rest stops. Sometimes they might have a machine or two in there to play. I'll see you in my next video. Have a great evening.